Because God selected it. And because God sanctioned it.
Yes. Yes.
Preacher, what you mean by that? God sanctioned it. And I looked up that word sanction. And it means permission. I like this. When I read it, I had a Holy Ghost fit right there in the room. Permission with authority. Y'all catch that? Permission with authority. Then the definition went on to say support and approval. Now we got permission with authority, we got support, and we got approval. Who's got authority? God the Father. Now Moses had authority over them sheep, but only God could have started that fire. But it was sanctioned. It had permission by authority. God, I believe God looked at that bush, he stuck his hand out and said, bush, light up. I don't know what he did, I just know the bush was burning, amen? He said, bush, light up. And you know what? No, you know what I believe would happen? Moses had his back turned to that bush. Doing what Moses was doing there, and while he was doing what he was doing, God looked down there and said, yeah, he's tending them sheep over there. I'm going to reach down my hand. While Moses had his back turned, listen to what I'm saying. God reached down his hand and lit that bush. A lot of times we got our back turned on God. Hey, but God's still working things out. Y'all don't hear me? Hey, God, hey, y'all didn't catch that. Even though we got our backs turned on God, sometimes God's still there, says, looking down on us, and I'm still going to start that fire. Bless the holy God. I tell you, but because God said it, because God selected it, and because God sanctioned it. Not only did it stop there, but the bush inspired Moses. The bush gave Moses an inspiration. We find that in verse number 2 through 4. Verse number 3 says, and Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, while the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here am I. But it inspired Moses. It inspired Moses to look. First of all, find that in verse number 2. Moses turned around and looked at that bush. And I wonder how many times in our life that something has inspired us to look. Something has inspired us to take a peek at it. Hear what I'm saying this morning? But that bush got Brother Moses' attention. It inspired him to look. And when he looked at that bush, I'm pretty sure when he turned around, he didn't imagine to see that bush burning. I got to thinking about that when we look at a lot of people, others' lives, and we look at things and we look and see, well, wonder how in the world God's using that person. Oh, I tell you, I wonder how in the world, after all that person's done, after all that person's done to me, I just don't understand why God is using that person. But again, God can use anybody. But it inspired Moses to look. It inspired Moses to leave. You find that in verse number 3 again. It says, and Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. Why the bush is not burnt. I wonder, we say, a lot of times we put God in a little box. We put him in a little box. We don't want him to get out of that box. But if he was in that box, there was no way that bush could have burnt. If he was in that box that we like to put him in, it would have been no way that bush would have kept burning without burning up. Say, preacher, what are you saying? Well, if we'd started that fire in that bush would have burned up. Come on. Probably would have burnt another bush. Y'all ain't catching what I'm saying. And not even stop there, but burn another bush. Might even burn the whole mountain Come on. Yes. A lot of times we start things. It goes here, goes there. Now, that doesn't burn up this person's relationship with the Lord. Y'all catching what I'm saying? Doesn't burn up this family. What you started, what you said, doesn't burn up somebody's family, and it's done got in the church house. But when God starts the fire, it's going to burn where it started. And God says God because he'll say, well, that good fire is burning right there. They on fire for Jesus. They're on fire for me. So I'm going to let the fire spread a little bit over here. And when it gets over here, Riverdale Baptist Church is going to be set on fire. Y'all don't hear me? That ain't just going to stop here. It's going to go on down around the corner down here to the Hopedale Christian Church, and they're going to set their church on fire. Y'all don't hear me? And when all these churches get set on fire, they'll come reason together, and they'll come worship together.